What would you do if you found out your wife was cheating, and you were a master of tech? Bob didn't cry, he didn't beg. He built a digital nuke. One link, sent to everyone she knew, exposed her dirty secrets in HD. Her family, her job, even her lover's wife, no one was safe. It was just after 5:30 in the morning, the kind of early where the world feels half asleep and everything is eerily quiet. I was standing in the kitchen, halfway through a cup of coffee, still in that pre-work fog when my phone buzzed. It was a Facebook Messenger notification, nothing unusual, right? But the sender was Bob, and that was unusual. Bob wasn't the kind of guy to send group messages. In fact, he barely used social media. He was one of those ultra-private, ultra-cautious types, the IT guy who made you feel like your passwords weren't good enough just by looking at you. So when I saw he'd sent a link, I froze. Not just to me either, it was a group chat, a massive one. His wife's family, his family, our mutual friends, a bunch of names I didn't even recognize. It was like he'd CC'd the entire damn town. My first instinct, phishing scam. Nowhere Bob of all people would fall for that. But the link was clean. Custom domain, no sketchy characters. Then the email came. Same link this time in an open group email, her co-workers, her boss, her mom, her church group. Every person who'd ever meant something to her, and a bunch who probably hadn't in years. That's when I knew this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a hack. This was intentional. Still, I hesitated. You don't just click something like that. My hand hovered over the screen, my mind racing with questions. What the hell was Bob doing? Was this some twisted joke? A cry for help? A virus he accidentally sent? Then I clicked. The link led to a plain, black and white website, no fancy layout, no distractions. Just one word, scented at the top in big bold letters. Truth below that, a video player. Then another, thumbnails, chat, screenshots, blurred out private messages, each one with a snarky, soul-pissing caption. And her, Bob's wife, naked, laughing, masturbating, talking dirty to a man who wasn't Bob. Her face front and center, her voice crystal clear. I actually gasped. It wasn't hidden footage, it was curated content. Bob had gone full producer on his own personal nightmare. There were videos of her with her lover, solo videos she'd sent him, screenshots of their explicit chats, conversations where she trashed Bob's bedroom skills and praised her lovers in excruciating, emasculating detail. It was all laid bare, like a museum of betrayal. And Bob wasn't subtle. Each video was labeled with cutting sarcasm: Tuesday twerk, why marriages fail 101, queen of double lives. It was like he was narrating his own breakdown, one pixel at a time. I felt sick, not because of what I saw, but because of how deliberate it was. This wasn't rage, this was revenge, programmed line by line. I grabbed my phone and called him, straight to voicemail. I called again, nothing. When he finally picked up on the third try, he sounded drunk, slurring, angry, tired in a way I'd never heard before. He wasn't making sense at first, rambling about betrayal, lies. How could she? And something about her thinking the other guy had a better engine under the hood. I told him to take the site down, that this would ruin her, ruin him, destroy their kids' futures, get him sued, everything. He just laughed. They all needed to know, he said. All of them. Then, in the background, a door slammed, loud, then shouting, screaming, a voice, Bob yelling back. Pure chaos. My heart dropped. She must have seen the site. Maybe someone called her, or maybe she just woke up and saw the message flood. Either way, it was happening live and I was on the line for it. You sick bastard, she screamed. You posted that online. You made those videos. You whore. Bob shouted back. You were proud of it. The call dropped. Just like that. Silence. I sat there, phone in hand, staring at that website like it was a ticking bomb. And the view counter, it wasn't stuck. It was climbing dozens, then hundreds. That meant people were watching. And once something's online, especially that kind of content, there's no undo button. The rest of the day was a blur. I checked the site over and over, hoping it would be gone. But it wasn't. It was up for hours. And every time I refreshed, more views. That's when it hit me. Bob didn't just want revenge. He wanted everybody to know. Not just her friends. Not just his. The whole damn ecosystem they existed in. Families, jobs, reputations. He wanted to destroy her the way he felt she destroyed him. And in that moment, watching his carefully coded chaos ripple through everyone's lives, I realized he'd succeeded. Bob wasn't your average husband. He was quiet, observant, and ridiculously smart. The kind of guy who could walk into a room, hear to people chatting for 10 seconds, and somehow remember their phones' Wi-Fi passwords by the end of it. We used to joke that if the FBI ever needed a cyber spy who could also fix your printer, Bob was their man. He worked in IT high-level network security, mostly a guy who lived in server rooms and dark command line tech. That kind of job builds a particular mindset. Suspicious, analytical, untrusting, until proven otherwise. And honestly, he was cool with that. It worked for him. It made him good at what he did. But when it came to his personal life, especially his marriage, that mindset would become both his armor and his curse. He married young, too young. Some of us thought she was one of those people who could charm your socks off in 5 minutes flat. Gorgeous, loud, funny, the kind who made every room warmer, but also made every man in that room suddenly forget what they were saying. Bob fell hard and fast. We all saw it. She was like fire, and he was the moth circling just a little too close. At first they seemed perfect. She brought the energy, and Bob grounded her. He upgraded her devices, taught her how to secure her accounts, even built her a custom PC for gaming. She bought him clothes he'd never pick himself, made him socialize, gave him an edge of unpredictability. They balanced out, but marriage is a long game, and when one side starts playing by different rules, it's only a matter of time before things crack. The first real hit came through the grapevine, something Bob overheard at a party. One of her closest friends had been caught cheating. The whole messy affair spilled out at a barbecue, of all places. That alone would have been bad enough, but the friend, in a desperate attempt to deflect, made a comment that stuck with Bob. At least I'm not the only one. Some of us have been getting theirs for years. And then she looked directly at his wife. Bob didn't say much at the time. He laughed it off, played it cool. But that's when the first wall went up. He told me about it a few days later. We were grabbing beers after work. Nothing special. I remember the way he leaned in and lowered his voice, like the world was listening. "Do you think she'd cheat on me?" he asked. No emotion, just cold curiosity. I shrugged. "I don't know, man. She flirts, but that's just her, right?" "Yeah, that's what I tell myself." From there, things settled for a while, at least on the surface. But Bob wasn't the kind of guy who just lets suspicions go. He filed it away, started noticing things. New passwords on her devices, more locked screens, random giggling at her phone in bed. She said it was memes or TikToks from friends. He wanted to believe that. Then came the high school reunion. It was a weekend thing. Out of town. She went solo. He had work, couldn't make it. She called him once the first night. Then radio silence. Her excuse, bad cell service. We all knew that was a lie. But Bob didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, he watched, listened, tracked. That's when he approached me again. This time with a half-joking grin. "You know what I need?" he said. "A damn key." We laughed, or I did. He didn't. "You're not serious," I said. He took a long sip of his drink. "I could be if I wanted. Wouldn't even take me an hour." Then he looked me straight in the eye. "But I probably won't." And he didn't hear that. He dropped it after that, or at least he said he did. Told me not to tell anyone, not even my wife. Especially not her. I didn't. I let it go, like he asked. But I could feel that he wasn't letting it go. Not even close. Things seemed normal. If you didn't know what to look for, you'd think they were the perfect couple again. Smiling selfies, dinners with friends, inside jokes on social media. But Bob had already shifted. He'd stopped trusting, stopped hoping. He was just collecting, building a case. What most people don't understand is that revenge doesn't come from rage, not immediately. It comes from silence, from waiting, from those long, quiet nights when you replay every odd moment, every suspicious message, and ask yourself, what if I'm right? Bob didn't want to be right, but he needed to know. And so, sometime during those months, maybe late one night while she was asleep, maybe when she left her laptop unattended, Bob installed the keylogger. Not just any basic spyware either. This was top shelf, tailored by Bob himself. It didn't just log key. It recorded screen activity, captured logins, flagged keywords, and stored chat logs in a hidden, encrypted folder on a remote server only Bob could access. When she logged into Facebook, he watched. When she typed, he read. When she clicked video calls with her lover, he captured the feed. Slowly, carefully, methodically. Bob built a gallery of betrayal. He didn't confront her. He didn't lash out. He just kept collecting, day by day, video by video, message by message. He let the knife twist inside a little deeper every time she moaned another man's name on screen. By the time he dropped that link to all of us, Bob had been sitting on this digital bomb for weeks, maybe months. It wasn't an impulsive outburst. It was execution. And that, right there, is what made it terrifying. He didn't just want to catch her, he wanted the world to see it. He wanted her to feel exposed, humiliated, gutted, just like he had, just like he still was. Only difference, Bob had a keyboard and a plan, and now he was finally ready to launch it. The thing about Bob was when he decided to do something, he didn't half-ass it. Whether it was building a home server, installing network firewalls, or, in this case, spying on his own wife, he went all in. When he joked about needing a keylogger, that wasn't a thought tossed into the wind, it was a trial balloon, a test. And I think deep down, even then, he already knew what he was going to find. He waited until she gave him the perfect opening. One night, she left her laptop open. She was rushing out to meet friends, and in her hurry, didn't shut it down. To most people, it's just a laptop. To Bob, it was a portal. He installed everything he needed in less than 10 minutes, software that he personally vetted, stripped of any obvious signatures. It ran silently in the background, logging every single keystroke, screenshotting every window that popped up and sending everything to a remote server Bob managed himself. It was surveillance, the kind you'd expect from a disgruntled ex-NSA contractor. He set it to trigger screen recordings anytime certain keywords were typed, words like love, babe, naked, miss you, and the name of the guy he suspected she was cheating with. It wasn't just about finding out if she was unfaithful, it was about how far she'd gone, how deep the lie really was. The first few days didn't reveal much. Her search history was boring. She messaged girlfriends, browsed Pinterest, watched YouTube. She even clicked through some articles on rebuilding trust in marriage, which nearly broke Bob then and there. But he stayed quiet, kept collecting. Then one night, about a week in, the software flagged a login to Facebook Messenger. He pulled up the live screenshot feed. There it was, a chat window with a man named Mike. The message, God, I miss you. I can still feel your hands on me. That was the first punch to the gut. Bob told me later, he just stared at the screen for 5 straight minutes. Didn't blink, didn't cry, just read over and over. Then came the pictures. She sent a selfie, nothing overtly explicit. Just her in a robe, wet hair, biting her lip. But it was the context, the way she captioned it. This is what you missed this morning. And it only got worse from there. Bob recorded it all. He set the software to take full 108 screen captures every 3 seconds whenever she was on Facebook or video calling. He even managed to hijack her webcam feed. Briefly, he never told me how, and I did. But it gave him a few seconds of real footage of her talking to the guy, smiling like a teenager in love. He dug deeper, traced the guy's Facebook, found his real name, his job, his wife's profile. That added a layer Bob hadn't even expected. Now it wasn't just personal, it was symmetrical. 2 cheaters in love, tearing apart marriages while pretending to be the victims of loveless homes. Bob's server filled up fast. Within 2 weeks he had hundreds of images, dozens of recorded chat conversations, and at least 6 videos. Some were explicit, some were painfully ordinary, her laughing at his jokes, her complaining about Bob, talking about how Mike makes her feel seen. Those hurt more than the dirty stuff, because that's where the real betrayal was. But Bob didn't stop at Facebook. He noticed she used her work email to talk to Mike when she couldn't. He'd be on Messenger. During office hours, she'd log in, type quickly, delete messages, and use shorthand. Bob configured his logger to flag anything from her work domain. Every email, every calendar invite, every digital breath she took, he had it. It was through those emails that he discovered their plan. They were going to meet again. A hotel reservation, a 3-day conference she wasn't actually registered for. The messages were filled with logistics, room numbers, times, excuses. But then they turned personal. I can't wait to feel your hands again. Last time was so good, so much better than at home. Bob still thinks I'm at a retreat. Poor guy. Those were the ones that broke him. He didn't tell me any of this at the time. He didn't tell anyone. He just kept watching, logging, recording, compiling his evidence like a prosecutor building an airtight case. Every detail filed away in folders sorted by date, topic, type. He labeled them, even gave them titles like they were episodes of some sick show. Late Night Lust, Hotel Hypocrisy, Home Alone, Mike Edition. He even wrote little notes to himself next to some of the screenshots. Stuff like, she said she loved me the same day she sent this. This is what betrayal looks like. She didn't know I was in the next room. Imagine that, sitting there, watching the person you swore to love forever desecrate your vows in real time. Not just behind your back, but on your own devices, in your own home. And still he said nothing. Not one word, not one hint. He kissed her goodnight, made dinner, played the dutiful husband, all while knowing she was texting her lover from the bathroom between courses. That's what made it monstrous. The patience, the calculation. He waited until he had enough, not just to catch her but to annihilate her. He didn't want a confrontation. He wanted devastation. And when the moment came, he wanted to make sure there was no wiggle room, no gaslighting, no it didn't mean anything. He wanted the receipts, all of them, in HD, time-stamped, organized. By the time he was ready to hit send, he had everything. He had built a website plain, easy to navigate, no fluff, just raw evidence, picture after picture, message after message, her voice, her face, her guilt. He designed it with a viewer counter because of course he did. He wanted to see how many people watched, not to brag, to make sure the shame burned just as much for her as the betrayal did for him. And when he launched it, when that link hit the inboxes and DIMs of dozens, maybe hundreds of people, Bob wasn't just releasing evidence. He was executing judgment. He'd been the quiet, nerdy husband for years. The one people underestimated, the one she thought would never fight back, never catch up. She underestimated him. She was about to learn exactly what a betrayed genius is capable of. The first time I saw the email, I thought it had to be a mistake. A prank. Maybe. The subject line was vague, just "you deserve to know," but the list of recipients was anything but. Dozens of names, some familiar, some not. Her co-workers, Bob's cousins, his in-laws, mutual friends, a few strangers. It was like someone had taken both their Christmas card lists and mashed them together. And smack in the middle of it a link. Same link as the Facebook message from earlier that morning, except now it wasn't just digital friends. This was real-life people whose phones would light up over their morning coffee, just like mine did, and click out of curiosity. And what they'd find wasn't curiosity's reward. It was Bob's masterpiece of destruction. When I clicked through again, I paid more attention. This wasn't just a site. This was a digital graveyard. And Bob had engraved every tombstone himself. The homepage was brutal in its simplicity. Black background, white serif font. The header read, "What happens when you cheat on an IT guy?" Below that, the content unfolded like a court case. Evidence Exhibit A. Chat logs color-coded, with dates and timestamps. On the left, Bob's wife bubbly flirtatious. On the right, Micah the married lover. Their conversation started innocently but within minutes descended into pure filth. Sexual innuendo, declarations of love, jokes about sneaking around, even inside jabs at Bob. "He's sweet, but boring. You're the one who gets me. I had to fake it last night. All I could think about was you." Click. Exhibit B. Photos. First, selfies. Some tame her smiling in bed, curled under a blanket. Then a little more suggestive. Bathroom mirror shots, unbuttoned blouse, fingers on lips. Then full nudes. She wasn't shy, posing for the camera like it was a second job. Flashes of skin, lace, toys, some solo, some clearly sent mid-video call, all labeled Monday mood. Guess who's not wearing anything under this? Mike's favorite. Click Exhibit C. Videos. This part was beyond comprehension. Not just short clips. Bob had compiled screen recordings, some from her laptop, some from chat calls. You could hear her voice, hear her moan his name, hear her beg for more. Not once, not twice, multiple videos, different dates, different outfits, different moods. Some were just her pleasing herself, dirty talking into a webcam. Others were two-way, her watching him, whispering promises about the next time they'd meet. The captions were merciless. Every line, a stab. "She sent this the night we celebrated our anniversary. Notice the ring?" Yeah, she wore it while doing that. Mike's wife might like this one. Click Exhibit D. Emails. Work account correspondence. Quick messages exchanged under the subject lines client files and project notes. On the surface, corporates, but inside, hidden rendezvous planning, confirmation of hotel stays, pictures titled innocuously like Schedule update, that turned out to be full frontal shots. She even used her company's email server to book one of their weekend getaways. Through all of it, she played it cool, professional. Like cheating on your husband during lunch breaks was just part of a balanced life. Each exhibit section had a preface, a note from Bob. Sometimes angry, sometimes hollow, but always clear. "You all deserve to know. You welcomed her, trusted her. This is who she really is. Mike's wife, you don't know me, but your husband's been banging mine. Thought you should see where your marriage stands." And then, the final exhibit, screenshots of her mocking Bob directly, trash talking his body, his performance in bed, the way he still uses a nightlight. The kind of cruel, personal stuff you only share with someone when you think no one else will ever hear it. Bob's so predictable, I could cheat in our own house and he wouldn't notice. Mike made me come twice before Bob even kissed me goodnight. It's like comparing a Honda to a Mustang. Bob sweeper Mike. Mike is horsepower. That was the part that broke something inside me. And I wasn't even married to her. I called Bob again. He answered this time, but the voice on the other end was different. Not angry, not sharp, just exhausted and slurring. Dude, I said, you've got to take it down. This is too much. He chuckled. You didn't see the stuff I didn't post. You're gonna get sued. People are gonna lose jobs. This doesn't end well. She ended it. He snapped suddenly. When she opened her legs for a married man and sent him videos from our bed. I'm just a delivery guy. I paused. Think about your kids, Bob. Silence. Then he mumbled something I'll never forget. They'll know the truth someday. Maybe they'll understand why Dad broke. The call didn't last long. He said he was logging in to delete it. I believed him. But before he could, everything exploded. She'd woken up. Her phone, apparently, had dozens of missed calls. From her sister, her mom, her boss, a friend who'd clicked the link and screamed into the void. She found the website, and then she found Bob. I could hear it over the phone line. Her storming into the room, voice shaking with fury. What the hell is this? You know what it is, he said calmly. It's you. You posted this to everyone. Are you insane? No. Just tired of pretending. She screamed, called him every name in the book, accused him of violating her privacy, of cyber harassment, of destroying their family. Bob didn't flinch. You did that. I just documented it. Then the yelling escalated, slapped something crashing. Her voice went feral. Panicked. You ruined my life. Bob fired back. You were ruining it already. I just gave everyone front row seats. Then the line cut out. I tried to call again. No answer. Checked the site. It was still up in the counter. Well into the hundreds. Still rising all day. People messaged me. Did you see this? Is this real? Why would he do that? Everyone had an opinion. Some were horrified. Some laughed. Some said she deserved worse. Others said Bob had gone too far. But no one could look away. Because it wasn't just gossip, it wasn't speculation. It was truth, undeniable, inescapable, and brutally presented. By the end of the day, Bob had gone silent. His phone off, the website still ticking, and in every click, every view, was a man's heartbreak weaponized. This wasn't a revelation. It was retribution. The explosion didn't end when the website went live. It started there. What came next was the aftershock, a shockwave of outrage, humiliation, anger, and sheer chaos that burned through families, friendships, and workplaces like wildfire. Within hours, Bob's digital nuke had been seen by nearly everyone. It was aimed at and some. Screenshots of the site were circulating on Reddit, passed around in group chats, whispered about in break rooms. The internet has a memory like an elephant on amphetamines. And once something's out there, you can't unsend it. Bob had made sure of that. By lunchtime, her employer had seen it. The HR department didn't wait. She was called in, sat down, and given the kind of cold, rehearsed corporate speech people get right before they're walked out with a cardboard box. This conduct does not align with the values of this organization. Apparently, someone in her office had recognized her immediately from the video thumbnails. You know it's bad when your colleagues see your homemade porn before your spouse does. Her phone was blowing up. Messages from friends turned sour. Some were sympathetic. Are you okay? But most were just stunned disbelief or thinly veiled judgment. What were you thinking? How could you do that to Bob? My mom saw this, and she's crying. She was unraveling. And Bob, he'd gone ghost. After our last call, no one heard from him for hours. I tried a dozen times. His family tried. His co-workers were calling. His boss even showed up at his house when he didn't log in for a scheduled remote meeting. But by that afternoon, we all found out where he was. Home waiting. Around 3 p.m. the confrontation happened. Not the screaming match from earlier. That was just the prelude. This was the main event. According to a mutual friend who lived a few houses down, it started with slamming car doors. She came home from her forced exit at work, stomped up the driveway, red-eyed and furious. The kind of fury that only humiliation can conjure, the kind where you're repast shame and into vengeance. The front door opened and slammed shut. 5 seconds of silence, then shouting. She accused him of destroying her life. He accused her of selling her soul for a few orgasms and flattery. There were no apologies, only defenses. She tried spinning it. I was lonely. You weren't there for me. Bob wasn't having it. I was fixing your laptop while you were fingering yourself for another man. She tried to turn it back on him. "You violated my privacy. You violated our marriage," he snapped. Then came the nuclear words, the ones I wish, for his sake, had never been spoken, but once they're out, they can't be unsaid. "You were never enough, Bob. Not emotionally, not physically. I was starving with you." That line, that one sentence, was the atom bomb. According to the neighbor, that's when Bob stopped yelling. He didn't respond, just went quiet, walked to the living room, grabbed his jacket, and left. He didn't even slam the door. He just walked out like someone who had nothing left to say. He stayed gone for 3 days. During that time, the damage only grew. Mike's wife found out thanks to Bob's message directly to her inbox, with a personal note. "You deserve better. I thought he should know what your husband's been up to." She responded, "Just once. Thank you. I didn't believe it at first, but now I see. I'm leaving him." Bob's wife, meanwhile, was trying to do damage control. She shut down her social media, called her family, sobbing, claiming Bob had manipulated everything, that he edited the footage, that it wasn't what it looked like. But nobody bought it. The evidence was too raw, too real. Her mom stopped talking to her. Her sister told her not to show up at Thanksgiving. Even her church pastor, yes, she still went to church, told her maybe it was time to reflect on her life choices. It was biblical, all right? Biblical shame. The saddest part, she still tried to get Bob back. She sent long emails, voice messages, left little notes around the house when he wasn't there, promised counseling, sex therapy, anything. Said she'd quit her job, move, start over, anything, everything. She even showed up at his temporary apartment, crying in the rain like a scene out of a movie. But Bob, he was done. It wasn't the cheating. It wasn't the videos. It wasn't even the public humiliation. It was the words, her mocking him, comparing him, tearing down his manhood to boost some other guy's ego. That was the poison he couldn't spit out. Every man has a breaking point, and for Bob, that was it. Her words had carved themselves into his self-worth like tattoos he couldn't remove. He told me once, weeks later, "I can forgive a mistake, but I can't forgive being made into a joke." After the confrontation, things crumbled fast. He filed for divorce within the month. She tried to fight it, then tried to delay it, then tried to negotiate. But Bob didn't budge. He didn't want alimony, didn't want revenge anymore, he just wanted out. She moved in with her sister, changed her number. Word is, she eventually left town, probably trying to outrun the story. But people don't forget that kind of scandal. It follows you. Every job interview, every date, every new friend who Googles your name. It's there. Bob didn't escape clean either. He packed on 100 pounds, quit his job, said he couldn't sit at a screen anymore without seeing those videos play in the back of his mind. He sold the house, cut ties with almost everyone, me included. Eventually, said he didn't want to be the guy people whisper about. The last time I saw him, he looked like a ghost of the man I knew. Pale, heavy eyes like he hadn't slept in weeks. He thanked me for being there that morning when the site went live. Then he walked away, disappeared into a cab, and I haven't heard from him since. The aftershock didn't just ruin a marriage. It ruined two people. It ruined careers, friendships, reputations, families, all because one man decided that if his heart was going to break, he was going to make damn sure hers shattered with it. The digital bomb Bob dropped D&T just detonated in their home. It sent shrapnel flying through every corner of their lives. The fallout was relentless, ugly, and oddly silent in places you'd expect noise. Because after the shouting stopped, and the phones stopped ringing, came the worst part of all. The slow, sinking isolation. Not just for Bob and his wife, but for everyone caught in the blast radius. Let's start with her job. The company didn't just fire her, they distanced themselves like she was radioactive. She had been in HR, ironically. The one who handled complaints, managed team building sessions, gave people lectures on professionalism. Now, her name was a punchline. The footage didn't just embarrass her, it exposed a massive policy violation. Using company time, devices, and email to conduct an affair. She tried to claim Bob violated her privacy, but legally, the device she used was their shared home laptop. There were no work protections, no lawyer wanted to touch it, and even if she could have made a case, she never got that far. The court of public opinion had already rendered its verdict. Guilty, disgraced, her family, destroyed. Her mom refused to speak to her for months. Her father, retired military, old school and blunt, told her, "You disgraced yourself, not just your marriage." Her younger brother posted a cryptic message online the day after the leak. Sometimes the people you idolize fall face first into their own mess, and you can't unsee it. Her sister was the only one who showed an ounce of compassion, but even she laid down rules. No bringing it up, no crying about what Bob did, because in her eyes, Bob didn't create the mess, he just put a spotlight on it. And their friends, gone. No more dinner parties, no more double dates. Some friends ghosted entirely, friended, blocked, vanished like they never existed. Others stayed just long enough to say, we need space. Because let's be honest, how do you hang out with someone when you've seen them naked, moaning another man's name on a screen? Her circle shrank to almost nothing. She tried to rebuild, made a new Facebook, started posting vague quotes about growth and healing. But nobody bought it. The internet remembers, even when people pretend to forget. Every time someone searched her name, the past screamed back. Mike the lover didn't escape either. His wife packed up their kids and left within 48 hours of receiving Bob's email. She didn't scream or cry or demand explanations. She forwarded the link to her divorce attorney, changed the locks, and began the process of erasing Mike from her life. Mike's job also got wind of the situation. He was a manager at a small company, and when a few clients caught wind of the scandal, they dropped their contracts. The company had no choice. They let him go. Quietly, no ceremony, just a plain envelope and a handshake that said, we don't need your mess. His kids, resentful, confused, forced into therapy. Mike tried to contact Bob, reportedly, left him a voicemail saying he was sorry, that things got out of hand, that he never meant to hurt anyone. Bob never responded. And then there was Bob's family. They were torn. On one hand, many were proud of him for standing up, for not being the doormat. But some felt he went too far. His sister said, you could have just left. You didn't have to torture. His mom cried when she saw the site. She didn't even make it past the first video. But even the ones who disapproved didn't cut him off. They knew he was spiraling. He stopped showing up to family gatherings. Said he didn't want the pity. We didn't want to explain what happened for the 100th time. He dropped out of all group chats. Changed his number. The only people who could reach him were the ones who already knew how deep he'd gone. The community. That's where the whispers lived. Bob and his wife had been part of a neighborhood group, cookouts, school events, weekend potlucks. All of that vanished. Parents didn't want their kids around that kind of drama. People crossed the street when they saw her. Some crossed when they saw him, because while what she did was morally devastating, what he did publicly shaming her, uploading intimate content, left people uncomfortable. Even if she deserved it, they feared the precedent. If that could happen, what else could? Some called it justice. Others called it revenge porn. But no matter what side you were on, one thing was clear. There was no going back. The ripple hit everywhere. People they hadn't spoken to in years reached out not to help, but to see. Old classmates, ex-flings, co-workers from 3 jobs ago. The digital tsunami pulled everyone into the drama, whether they wanted to be or not. Even strangers online debated it. The link eventually made it to forums, Reddit, Twitter. People argued in threads about whether Bob was a hero or a villain. Some praised his methodical approach. Others warned he'd crossed a dangerous line. Screenshots circulated, memes were made, and somewhere in the middle of all that noise was a man who'd simply had enough. Bob never joined the conversation, never posted about it, never responded. He just vanished, while his digital shadow kept screaming for him. The most haunting part of the fallout wasn't the destroyed reputations, or the silence from friends, or even the career collapses. It was the children. Bob and his wife didn't have any together, but Mike did and his kids. They were old enough to Google, old enough to know. The day they found out, according to someone close to the family, one of the boys broke his tablet in half, threw it against the wall and screamed, "Why would you do this to Mom?" Kids don't understand betrayal. They just feel the consequences. That's the true cost of a revenge like Bob's. It's precise, it's surgical, but it doesn't discriminate. It slices through everyone, guilty and innocent alike. In the end, Bob's revenge did what it was meant to do. Exposed the truth. But the fallout, that was uncontrollable. It changed lives, ended relationships, created scars that no apology, no therapy, no time could ever fully heal. And the saddest part, none of it brought him peace. In the weeks following the explosion, Bob wasn't just quiet, he was gone. Not physically, not at first. He was still around town, still hitting the grocery store, still showing up in the background of mutual friends' social media posts. But mentally, spiritually, emotionally, Bob had left the building. The man we knew, the witty, sarcastic tech guy with a dry humor and ironclad moral compass, was replaced with someone colder, heavier, quieter. It was like the version of Bob that had once believed in love, in fairness, in fixing things, had been consumed in the blaze of his own revenge. What remained was someone surviving, not living. It started small. He stopped answering texts, first one day, then one week. He told a few people he was just tired and needed to get away from the noise. No one pushed back. After what he'd been through and what he'd done, most people didn't know what he'd say anyway. Then he stopped showing up to work. Bob had been working remotely before the incident, handling high-security contracts from home. He was damn good at his job, one of those rare people who could explain complex digital forensics to a boardroom without losing them. But now, even opening a laptop made him flinch. His boss called him, offering a paid leave. Bob said he didn't want it, said he didn't want pity. Then he stopped responding entirely. 2 weeks later, he sent in his resignation. No explanation, just a 2-sentence email. Thanks for everything. His company reached out a few times, even offered therapy support, but Bob didn't respond. He was building a new identity and it didn't include anything that reminded him of his old life. The weight gain came next. Bob was always on the lean side, built like a tall, coiled wire. He wasn't the gym type, but he was active enough to stay fit. After the blow-up, though, everything changed. He started stressing fast food, junk, whatever was quick and numbing, frozen burritos, 2-liter sodas, drive-through cheeseburgers at midnight. He joked once, "It's the only thing that fills me up anymore." Then he laughed. But it wasn't the kind of laugh you join in on it. It was hollow, brittle. In less than 6 months, Bob packed on over 100 pounds. His cheeks filled out, his neck disappeared, his posture slouched. The transformation was shocking, not just physically, but in how little he seemed to care. It wasn't just weight. It was armor, a way to disappear without going anywhere. The last time I saw him before he left town, we met for coffee. Or rather, I ordered coffee. Bob showed up with a fast food bag in hand, sat down, and opened a breakfast sandwich like he hadn't eaten in days. He didn't look up right away, just stared at the wrapper as he spoke. "I thought ruining her would make me feel better," he said, voice low. And for a second, it did. Let him keep going. But then I realized I still hear her voice every night. That line, the one about me not being enough. He didn't say it out loud. He didn't need to. I knew exactly which line he meant. Bob looked up then, eyes rimmed red but not crying. "She made me feel small, and I made her feel exposed. I thought it would even the score, but it doesn't. I still feel small, just louder." That was the truth behind Bob's transformation. He hadn't turned into a monster because of revenge. He'd become hollow because revenge didn't fix what broke inside him. It only magnified the cracks. After that coffee, Bob started burning bridges. He unfriended people on Facebook, blocked numbers, ghosted mutual friends. When asked why, he said he was tired of being the revenge guy, tired of the looks, the hushed tones, the forced smiles from people who didn't know whether to pity or applaud him. He sold his house at a loss. They didn't even take most of his furniture, just packed a few essentials, rented a moving truck, and drove across the state line without telling anyone where he was going. He left no forwarding address, only sent a group text to a select few of us. "Don't look for me, I need this." And just like that, Bob was gone. Over the following year, whispers circulated. Some said he was living off-grid in the mountains. Others claimed he moved to another city under a different name. There were rumors he joined some underground tech group, or that he became a digital mercenary for hire. None of that was true, at least not as far as I ever confirmed. But what was true, Bob had changed. He'd scorched the earth behind him because standing in the ashes of his old life was too painful. And his wife, she tried to contact him for months, sent emails, letters, even showed up at his sister's house once. All went unanswered. She offered apologies, explanations, even tried. Threats suggested she'd sue him for defamation or harassment, but she'd never followed through. Maybe because she knew she'd never win. Not in court, not in public opinion, and definitely not in the version of reality Bob had already escaped from. I don't think Bob will ever come back. Not as we knew him. Some betrayals don't heal. Some people don't rebuild. They just survive differently. The truth is, revenge didn't break Bob. Love did, or rather, the betrayal of it. Revenge was just the echo, the last cry of a man who had already died inside, long before the website went live. And when that echo faded, what remained wasn't satisfaction. It was silence. Sometimes, when I think of Bob now, I wonder if he'd do it again. If he'd still drop that bomb knowing the man he'd become in the aftermath. And the saddest part, I think he would. Because for Bob, exposing the truth wasn't just justice. It was the only way he knew how to scream without making a sound. Looking back, it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment where this story stopped being about infidelity and started becoming a cautionary tale about vengeance. Somewhere between the first suspicious glance and the final server ping on that now-defunct website, this went from a personal betrayal to something bigger, something darker, and something worth learning from. Bob wasn't just betrayed, he was humiliated, emasculated, and emotionally gutted. The person he trusted most didn't just cheat on him, she deconstructed him, pixel by pixel, behind his back, and broadcast it to someone else. She weaponized intimacy. She took the parts of himself he was most vulnerable about, his body, his performance, his worth, and offered them up for ridicule. And when Bob found out, he didn't scream, he didn't cry, he coded, he used what he knew best: tech systems, networks, not just to uncover the truth, but to expose it, not just to hold her accountable, but to punish her. He didn't want an apology. He wanted impact. And that's where things get complicated. Because on one hand, what she did was undeniably vile. Cheating is betrayal. But the way Bob retaliated methodically, publicly, destructively wasn't justice. It was retribution. And that distinction matters. See, revenge isn't clean. It's not the tidy movie ending where the villain gets what they deserve and the hero walks off into the sunset. It's messy, it's emotional. It splashes blood on everyone, even the one holding the sword. Bob didn't walk away empowered. He walked away broken. He ruined her life. Yes, but in doing so, he ruined pieces of himself, too. His peace, his relationships, his future. That old saying, before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. It held up here. Bob dug one for her, and then laid down in the second. There's something disturbingly poetic about the fact that Bob, the IT genius, built a website to destroy her, and it ended up haunting him. He had the power to make the truth undeniable, to take control when everything else felt lost. But he also chained himself to that moment. He became known for that moment, not as a survivor, not even as a victim, but as the guy who dropped the bomb. And while a part of you might want to cheer for him because damn, she deserved something, another part of you has to ask, where's the line? Is it okay to expose someone's private life when they've wrecked yours? Is revenge still justified when it goes viral? When it traumatizes kids, costs people jobs? When it becomes more than just 2 people fighting and starts pulling innocent bystanders into the blast? These are tough questions, and Bob never claimed to have the answers, but his story forces us to think about them. Here's what I've learned. Pain makes people do desperate things. Bob wasn't a monster, he was a man in pain. And pain, when left to rot, doesn't stay quiet. It demands action. But the form that action takes, that's where the damage multiplies. Technology gives revenge infinite reach. In the past, betrayal ended in yelling machetes, divorce papers, maybe some broken dishes. Now, you can humiliate someone with a single upload. You can ruin reputations, careers, entire lives with a few clicks. That power is intoxicating and terrifying. Bob proved that. Public revenge becomes public trauma. What was supposed to be a personal reckoning spilled into families, workplaces, and even the lives of strangers. Bob may have aimed at his wife and her lover, but the shrapnel didn't care about intent. The internet doesn't come with blast shields. Revenge doesn't heal. It might feel satisfying in the moment. It might even feel righteous, but it doesn't close the wound. If anything, it keeps it open longer. Bob's website didn't bring closure. It brought isolation. He lost more than his wife. He lost parts of himself he didn't know were up for grabs. Truth matters, but so does mercy. There's a difference between revealing the truth and weaponizing it. Bob could have confronted her privately. He could have shown the evidence to her family, to Mike's wife, and left it at that. But he wanted maximum exposure, maximum impact. That choice changed everything. So what's the real takeaway? Maybe it's this. When we're wronged, our first instinct is to hurt back, to make them feel what we felt. And sometimes, yeah, people need to be held accountable. But revenge, real revenge, comes at a cost, a high one. Bob didn't get peace. He got silence. He got distance. He got the last word, but not the healing. Because healing doesn't come from revenge. It comes from acceptance, from letting go, and maybe even from walking away before you scorch the whole earth behind you. I still think about Bob sometimes. I wonder where he is, what kind of life he's building now, whether he sleeps better, whether the voice in his head is quieted, and if he'd do it all again. And you know what? I honestly don't know. But I do know his story lives in the caution zone, between justice and vengeance, between right and ruin. and that's a place none of us want to stay for too long. In the end, Bob got the truth out, but at a devastating cost. No one walked away clean. So what do you think? Was he a hero, or did he go too far? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and buckle up for the next revenge tale.